Peace, peace. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Today we're talking about the full moon in Sagittarius, which happens May 29th, 2018. The title of today's video will be Revelations and Apocalypse, and we'll explain exactly what we mean when we say Revelations and Apocalypse. This is not to scare anyone. This is not to excite someone. This is just to inform someone. So to give you an update where we are so far astrologically this year, our last video that we touched on was the new moon in Taurus. And so in the new moon in Taurus, we went real deep into the astrology of Taurus and what it absolutely means to fully embody and fully embrace the energy of Taurus. And I put that video out before Kanye West. I put that video out before Donald Glover. So when we talk about Taurus, we talk about the voice and really projecting the voice. We're not talking about Tauruses that you may know or not. We're really talking about the energy and trying to understand the energy on the esoteric level. An esoteric level meaning whatever's happening around me, it's somehow connected to me. And so it's my job to put that connection together. And so that's where we're at now. That's where we're at. And that's how we got to this point to us discussing the full moon in Sagittarius, which is happening May 29, 2018. Be sure to check out my video on the new moon in Taurus, which details the energy that's happening now. This energy that I'm discussing is happening in or around May 29th, 2018. So I'm going to be discussing some transits in this video that are taking place now, which will be highlighted during the full moon. So it's important to pay attention as we talk now, but ultimately everything will come to a head May 29th, 2018. And we'll discuss the astrology surrounding May 29th, 2018 and why it's probably going to be one of the most important times of our lifetime. So let's just talk about it. An apocalypse is not the end of the world, at least colloquially, or the etymology of the word apocalypse. The etymology of the word revelation does not mean the end of the world, but that does not stop people from automatically associating the apocalypse or revelation with the end of the world. So generally, if you don't understand what the apocalypse mean, you will be looking for a future date. But the apocalypse is happening right now, because the apocalypse is simply meaning lifting the veil or the revelation. So there's things that we know that we're privy to simply because of the internet that we just simply wouldn't have known or had the resources to actually know. So basically, they call it the World Wide Web. And so the web is, if you look at Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck, he has a picture of the World Wide Web long ago. And the web is simply a veil. The Priestess card, the second deck, if you look at the beautiful woman, she's looking over a web and she's seeing into, the abyss. And so the web is the apocalypse and revelation. You late if you still waiting on it. So we're just talking about different aspects or different situations that open us up to different revelations that may happen even further down the line. So generally the apocalypse has already happened, been happening. Now we're just talking about different ways it manifests. And so the astrology that we'll be discussing, the full moon in Sagittarius will be May 29th, 2018. It will happen at 8 degrees Sagittarius, 8 degrees Gemini. The moon will be in Sagittarius. The sun will be in Gemini. And we'll talk about what this all means. There are 3 distinct patterns that show up during the full moon in Sagittarius. There is a yod, there is a water sign, grand trine, and the mystic rectangle. Now, Generally, when I first started like listening to astrology podcasts, and they'll start to talk about a yod, and they'll start talking about a grand trine, and I would just tune the L out. Like, so generally, I want to like prevent you from tuning out. I want to engage you. I want you to really understand what a yod is. I really want you to understand what a water sign grand trine is, because me simply knowing it and sounding smart, it really serves no one. If I can get you to understand it, then you can really understand the energy, because if you understand the energy, you might not worry so much. Okay, you'll begin to focus on the things that truly matter. And when we begin to focus on the things that truly matter, then we really receive the breakthroughs, because generally spirit will reward you when you're on the right path. Generally, when we're on the wrong path, that spirit alerting you to you being on the wrong path, and there's something that you might want to do differently. But if we're like bullheaded and in that Taurus energy, then we won't actually see the different ways that we can adjust, and the different things that we may be focused on that we shouldn't focus on. So, and we'll also talk about the fixed stars, Antares and Aldebaran. If you know nothing about fixed stars, I really want you to stay tuned, and ultimately this video will be timestamped. So if you're interested in fixed stars and large stars and ancient UFOs and just that ancient information, that exclusive information that's going to really get highlighted and you'll be really accessed and privy to, you should definitely stay tuned for that. And so May 29th 2018, looking at the astrology, you see a lot of different lines and a lot of different stuff going on. If you have a perceptive eye, I'm sure you see some things pop out. Some things are stronger than other things, like the triangle, or maybe you don't see a triangle. Maybe you see a bunch of lines. So ultimately, what I want to do with this video, I want to explain all of these lines so you don't see a bunch of lines. You actually see an actual, miraculous vision in the heavens that can actually be related to you and what you're actually experiencing and what you're actually going through. That's all that we're trying to do. So let's talk about it. The first aspect that we discussed is a yod. Now, a yod is known as a finger of God, and it is centered around fate. And so generally this will happen, and it's hard to put it in simple English what's happening astrologically. Thankful for us, Saturn is in Capricorn, and it makes it easier to explain a yod and how it can actually be a positive aspect. Saturn in Capricorn is already trying to work towards something, and if he's not physically working towards something, he's really doing the research or making the steps and really thinking like, man, I'm going to make something of myself. I'm actually going to do this. So Saturn in Capricorn is really favorable. Now, if Saturn in Capricorn generally is a good placement, but when you put a yod with when Saturn aspects the planets and forms a yod, then you put fate into what Saturn ultimately put his mind towards. So a sun sextile north node is great because you realize that if I work towards my future, I'll get there. But when you quincunx it to Saturn, then there's energy there that you don't really understand. So if you have an inconjunction or a quincunx to Saturn, you may be fortunate in ways that you don't know where this fortune is actually coming from. This is what a quincunx actually speaks to. It could be positive or negative. It's always mysterious, like, why did this happen to me? And if you look at Neptune, this is not highlighted, but if you know where Neptune is and you know where Jupiter is, and you could kind of see that it creates like a capstone. It kind of splits off the pyramid right at the top. And so what you have is this pyramid or this capstone or this keystone. And so if you look up the definition of keystone or capstone, the spiritual definition, it just simply means completion. So with this capstone, and what's created is completion. Now you didn't have to be working on this project for super long. You could have been working on this project since January. You could be working on this project for 6 months, to a year maybe. But it's ready to go now, and you have support. But if you think that you need to go through this step and go through the SBA and get my taxes and then you're thinking more logically. You're not into the fate of it all. You're not into the God putting his. All God got to do is put his finger down, a little touch. That's all I need, a little touch. And so we gonna talk about the water sign grand trine, and so the last time we talked about a grand trine was during the solar eclipse when there was a fire sign grand trine all connected to the solar eclipse. And I don't know about you, the solar eclipse was a very powerful time for me as far as me manifesting the life that I really wanted to lead and really usher in the necessary changes that I really needed to really change my trajectory in life. So I'm really fortunate to the solar eclipse. So generally, I respect grand trines. The solar eclipse taught me to respect grand trines. And generally, when we have a water sign grand trine, where the fire sign grand trine was like me just like pumping my chest out and getting out here and like, I'm an astrologer. You know what I'm saying? But now the water sign grand trine is like that blessing. Like, okay, you stuck your chest out, you defended your land or whatever the case may be. Now you get to come back and you get the big piece of chicken. So I'm gonna be grateful for the big piece of chicken because, I worked hard for that. So any type of blessing, any type of favor that you'll be experiencing, like I said earlier, that trine, that Neptune and Pisces, Jupiter and Scorpio trine that actually caps off Saturn is really capping off the work that you put in. And it doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to make sense because I'm telling you, if you were born wealthy, the last thing you would do is ask your dad, like, we got to give all this money back, Dad. No son ever said that. So generally, if you find yourself in a fortunate position, just like take it, run with it, accept it. Venus in Cancer is really serious about the home. Venus in Cancer, trine Jupiter and Scorpio. Mom is willing to talk now. Dad is changing. You know what I'm saying? He used to be this way. Now he's softening up. So Venus in Cancer is giving the household different types of solutions, and you should not question it. If mom is acting different, if dad's acting different, if the kids is, being extra sweet, then kind of appreciate the gifts that's, all you gotta do is give you a little touch. You know what I'm saying? And things will start to change. Generally, we think it's gonna be this hard work and all this effort that I gotta put in and all of this stuff I gotta do. I gotta get my A's and my B's and my C's and my D's. But generally, if God did come down, give you a little touch, you generally don't need to do all that. And there's so many people living in fortunate situations that they can't. If you ask them, could you write a book on how you got wealthy? They couldn't do it. So favor and fortune is for those who seek it, those who appreciate it, those who realize it. Period. The last aspect that we're talking about is the mystic rectangle. And so we're still in that Sun in Gemini, North Node, and Leo energy, but we're just going to expand a little bit and we're going to talk about Mars in Aquarius and the Moon in Sagittarius. The first aspect that we're going to talk about is Mars in Aquarius opposed North Node and Leo. Now, Mars and Saturn, they're working together. They're like brothers right now. Saturn is in Capricorn, like, I'm trying something new. I'm working towards it. You may be getting good results. You may get no results, but all you know is that you're working towards something and you find comfort in that. Mars in Aquarius is kind of like, he's faster. He's kind of like the vision. He's kind of the action. He's kind of the work that you're putting into it. So you may be in a place where when Mars comes into Aquarius, he has no legs to stand on because he's new. He's new in this field. So he doesn't have the relationships. He doesn't have the swag to it. And so ultimately, Mars in Aquarius is vulnerable, but if you can understand that it is opposed North Node and Leo, that vulnerability is okay, because if you could just simply push through, if you can put the North Node and Leo energy and combine it, as opposed to, I'm new in here, I don't know where I'm going, I made a wrong decision, I shouldn't have did this. Trust me, if you take a step towards spirit takes 50 steps towards you. I wouldn't steer you wrong, but what will happen is that those illusions that you held dear, that is only doing nothing but blocking you, Aquarius is saying they can't go with you. They can't journey with you on this journey. So in order for us to get to this North Node and Leo place, there's some stuff that gotta change. And are you okay with that? Are you willing to, the energy of a sacrifice, right? Sacrifices show up for all of us. It's not just, Jay-Z and the Illuminati. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice them low life ass friends in order for you to be successful. A mystic rectangle is not a favorable aspect by any stretch of imagination, because it requires effort, it requires work, but it's protection in that effort. It's protection in that work by those sextiles and those trines to those same exact planets. You know what you need to do. So generally, are you willing to accept, the sacrifice? Or are you just going to feel as though you need to bring everybody and your mama to where you need to get to? And this is really going to be highlighting, especially during the end of May. So really pay attention to some shit that you need to get rid of to get to where you need to go. I don't know. Tell me the science. Give me the book of, how to treat everybody a certain way and bring everybody to where you're trying to get to. Please give me that book, because ultimately, if it's somewhere that you need to get to, you gonna have to realize that it's only you that's gonna get you there. So on to the fixed stars that we talked about in the synopsis earlier. The fixed stars that are conjunct. Before we get into that, let's get into this. So the fixed stars that we're talking about are Antares and Aldebaran. Our sun may be large and powerful to you, but ultimately, if you look at the scale, compared to Antares or Aldebaran, you can't even see our sun. So when we talk about power, when we talk about energy, and we talk about tapping into energies that are beyond human consciousness, this is definitely the time. If you're into, magic and things of that nature, if you're into meditation, or if you're into anything occult, metaphysical, and things of that nature, generally, this is the time, this is the season to really tap into this energy. Because when you talk about Antares, when you talk about Aldebaran, just the sheer size of this would increase the heat. So it's generally going to be hotter during this time, because that energy is now, you can't deny or even reject this energy. It's simply that you may not understand or be aware of it. So the simple is not anything that you can do to really get in contact with this energy, other than simply educate yourself on the attributes of Antares and the attributes of Aldebaran. The sun will be conjunct Aldebaran. The moon will be conjunct Antares. So Antares is known as one of the four royal stars. It is characterized as one of the horses, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Generally, when you hear the story in the Bible, they're not talking about people. They're talking about stars. Generally, when even the word disaster, if you look up the etymology of the word astar, is just talking about a star. When you have a disaster, you're not aligned with your star. You're distant from your star. You're not aligned to your star. Generally, when you align with your stars, everything becomes favorable to you. Now, you don't want to be so ignorant to think that you don't need to look at your astrology to, deal with some issues. Now, if you have no issues, then you don't need astrology. But if you do have issues, then you may want to take a look into how what fixed stars really are incorporated in your chart. What aspects, what planets, what houses, how do your things work out? Because you really want to understand that. But I say that to say that when we're discussing mythology, it's like archangels and things of that nature. Before they were people, they were stars. Before they were even Michael and Oriel, they were Aldebaran and Antares. These are just later translations and later stories to explain energy that has been on the planet for trillion. If the universe, how old is the universe? Forget Earth. How old is the universe? It's like you can't even fathom it. So here we are, and we're coming face to face with destiny. Ultimately, we are dealing with who we are not only as human beings, but who we are as cosmic beings. And generally, when you have a full moon, you have a dispensation of energy. It's like a climax of energy. So generally, if you pay attention to anything, you've been seeing white horses and all of this type of stuff. So, like, you can't necessarily watch a video in any genre without a white horse lately. So, generally, somebody somewhere is paying attention to this energy and trying to either alert those that know or program the masses. Who's really to say? So. Speaking to Antares and Aldebaran, it's interesting that JFK has a sun conjunct Aldebaran, and Saddam Hussein has a moon conjunct Antares. And so we all know how they met their demise. So it's interesting to have a full moon in Sagittarius, right? And guess who else has a full moon in Sagittarius in their natal chart? Donald Trump. And that's interesting too, because they had the Met Gala, heavenly bodies, just all about, all things Catholicism, which was, everybody there, like the billionaires that were there, were all anti-Trump, like well-documented people, like billionaires that like really hated Trump. And for them to have like, a sacrificial type theme, like everybody wearing this like Jesus motif, it's like, who are they setting up to be sacrificed? I can only sit and really wonder. And then this is the same time, you got people like Kanye West alerting people to, slavery being psychological. And then you have people like, Donald Glover, like shooting people in the head for a video to make a statement. And so you just simply really wonder, where the world is headed, where this is kind of accepted and normalized, and what are they actually preparing yourself? What are they preparing people for? Now, really understanding the energy is not what they are doing. Is really about what you are doing. So how are you actually preparing yourself for your own revelation, and where are you really getting the energy from? Are you getting it from tradition? Are you getting it from somebody else? Are you getting it from yourself? And if you are getting it from yourself, are you developing it? Are you fleshing it out? And these are the real questions. These are the real things. So ultimately, that's the full moon in Sagittarius. We'll further develop this as we discuss the Orisha of the week, as we discuss the energy of Obatala. Now, Obatala is actually the metaphysics of Obatala are the eyes. And so the history of Obatala is that of a creator god, a god who actually created the earth. And he was sent down to earth with a chicken. And from that chicken kind of created the god. And the chicken is an interesting animal if you kind of look up the research of it. Like, people weren't eating chickens in the 1800s. Like, it was like eating chicken is new historically. And so for all the mythology to be like the deep stuff, when you like really dive deep, this is like hella roosters and hella hens and hella chickens. So it's like, what is the chicken? It's like that when you like, I was watching a documentary where it's like they actually created chicken in the laboratory. Like chicken is not domesticated. I don't know. But anyways, Obatala created the world with a chicken. And so over time he created humans and things of that nature. And so ultimately, when people deal with Obatala, when they think of Obatala, they think of a supreme god, a higher, a god above all gods. Like, they're supposed to be gods, but he's seen to be the oldest one. When you look up Obatala, they'll be like, he's the oldest. Like, I thought there were gods. How do they have ages? But anyways, he's the oldest one. So it's really speaking to pre-existence, pre-Christianity, pre-Catholicism, pre any type of institution that may be in power now. Whatever institution that's in power now, there was powers that existed that they are suppressing. And so the energy that they are suppressing is coming back. So ultimately, how do you feel about that? So I meant to talk about PTSD, but I don't know how I got off of it. But anyways, Obatala thus likes a clean environment. He likes order. He's very patient when it comes to his devotees and his children. He's very simple. You don't have to do much. When no Orisha, when no spirit, when you feel like spiritually everybody has turned their back on you, Obatala is there for you. This is so true. This is true personal experience. But anyways, Obatala is really a powerful energy that if you're down and out, I'm not talking to people who prophesizing on Facebook and telling people what they need to do and really not giving nobody solutions, but all you really doing is telling what they shouldn't be doing or why they are in a situation that they are. No, I'm talking about people who don't know how or why they're in a bad situation, but they know they need help. They know they need spiritual help. Obatala is the deity that you actually go to. All bullshit aside, all ego aside, like if you're down and out, like if you need help, like, and you seem as though like nobody can help you and you've been petitioning Oshun for I don't know how long and nothing's happening and you feel like your situation is getting worse and you need answers, you need clarity. Obatala is the Orisha. Obatala is Jupiter. Jupiter is the great benefactor. Jupiter benefits you even if you don't deserve it. It's not about deserve. It's about you being God and you being the creator and you realizing that what you see is just simply what you see. Who you are is something that you really need to develop. That's Obatala's energy. Obatala is a derivative of Abraxas. If you do the knowledge of Abraxas, Abraxas is the deity that Eve bit the fruit from or whatever. Abraxas is the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Abraxas is the god before God. Abraxas is like, the because if you see he has feet of a snake, it just represents our amphibian like existence before physical matter. So it's just our ability to be that of the land and that of the sea. And generally when Abraxas when he comes back, he will come back with the 4 horsemen. So I just find it interesting that it all ties together and it all works together. Is really is a great revelation, is a great apocalypse. Generally, if God is mysterious to you and you want to learn more, then look into Abraxas. This is really all I have to say and really all that I can say, because it's really up to you to come up with your own opinion or whatever. You don't want to just Google search. You want to know where to go. You want to look up the Nag Comedy Library and look up the book of Pistis Sophia, or look up Abraxas and Sophia. His counterpart is wisdom. So you really should, do the knowledge and do the self-investigation of Abraxas. Abraxas is an ancient term associated with Gnosticism that had influenced much of what we know of today as the pagan movement and even various religions such as Judaism and Christianity. So before Judaism and before Christianity, there was Gnosticism, and the god of Gnosticism was Abraxas, okay? According to Gnostic principles, the number 365 and the 7 letters of the name Abraxas correspond with the 7 rays of the planetary spheres in which he is the king of the heavens of the earth. So Abraxas is really the king of all astrologers and all kinds of people who deem themselves spiritual and things of that nature, witchcraft, paganism, and things of that nature. Like, Abraxas really deals with that. And like I said, this energy is very Jupiterian. It's all about expansion and really realizing that you are God, okay? So as above, so below. The things that you deem, the things that you mote, so mote it be. The things that you feel, so mote it be. You think that white people are living a better life than you. You think that black people are this, then whatever the case may be. However you think, so mote it be when you deal with Abraxas. So you understand the power of this energy. And so if in the wrong hands or the right hands, who's to say? Generally, you should get your hands on it and do what thou wilt, and stop worrying about what other people are doing. It's very important. Abraxas speaks to this. Obatala speaks to this. It's the eyes. It's your eyes. I can't see through your eyes. Only you can see through your eyes. And so that's my presentation, man, of this week in astrology. Full moon in Sagittarius, May 29th, 2018. I'll listen to this again, see how many mistakes I made, and put any questions or anything of that nature in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, like. If you don't do anything, if you took anything from this video, be sure to share this video. Be sure to write a synopsis or how you felt about this video. Make people aware of this energy, because the more people that are aware of this energy, the more we all benefit, because we all suffer or benefit from PTSD. Generally, if we see our brothers succeed, guess what? We feel that success in our heart, like we done succeeded. We see our brothers go through some tough stuff. Damn, it's like we damn near feeling that same thing. So generally, if it's some good vibrations that you feel from this video, make sure the shit is shared and people know about it. I really appreciate everybody who's listening, because what y'all doing are y'all allowing me to grow, and without people allowing you to grow, you just won't grow, because people could be here every day talking shit about everything that I'm trying to do, and the fact that I get support, I'm very grateful and very thankful. If you are interested in getting to know us personally or dealing with us on any type of level, you can reach us at the Spirit of Tibereth. We can be found at 1273 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at hoodmystic@gmail.com. If you're interested in a reading, make sure you check the Facebook page. Look at the reviews first. Well reviewed. I'm always surprised when I do a reading, but then again, I'm not surprised, because I put in hella work to make sure that I give you more than what you paid for. So I understand that, you're paying for it. So I'm not trying to shade you or anything to that effect. I'm trying to give you whatever you need, but it's not about money, it's about resonation. So if you really feel the energy, if you really vibrate and you really want to learn more about your astrology, feel free to hit me up. I'm here. But with that being said, we got some exciting things happening, but I'll be sure to update you. Some products and all types of good stuff happening that I can't wait to share. But this week we're gonna be really unveiling a lot of stuff. So this week, be ready. Hoodmystic.com, Goddess Thrones and herbs. I'm sorry. It's all coming. So we're just very excited and just happy for everybody and happy for everything that's happening. But with that being said, that concludes the video, but I'm gonna stay on the live to check these comments out and check these videos out and check to see what y'all was thinking or what y'all was saying. Give me a second.